And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
I love space games. I'm always interested in them, and it's kind of amazing to me that it's taken me this long to play Ascending Empires. I mean, I know people in my gaming group have been playing this for months, and I just never got a chance to get it to the table. And finally, now I've had a chance to play it. It has a lot of hype. There are some people who say that it is Game of the Year. It has a flicking mechanic in it, something I very much enjoy. Some of my favorite games are Pitch Car, and I like Catacombs, which took flicking into a new direction. Let's take a look at this space game. The board is made up of 9 large puzzle pieces, and this is where I've heard a lot of complaints about the game, really, because there's complaints that the puzzle pieces warp and so, and I haven't had the game long enough, although living in Florida, I'm sure that my puzzle pieces will warp. It comes in the pieces come in a bag with a note that basically says, "Keep them in the bag!" And so I think you're supposed to do that. But this is the way the board is set up. This is a 4-player game. Each player has a planet. In one of these corners, there's holes in the board, and the rest of the planets are spread out randomly, but yet you have one of each colored planet near you, somewhere in your quadrant. There's 4 different colored planets that are out there. And what players are going to be looking at, here's an example player board here. And this board does a couple things. First of all, you have your technology tracks, that as you move these technologies up, you'll get better special abilities that you can do with your spaceships and such, and anything that you might have. So, for example, here I have 6 troops in my supply area, but I don't have any starships. But that's going to change as the game progresses. I have more troops and starships that I can get as the game progresses, even a battleship, but you need technology or other things to get those, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So on your turn, you have your home planet, and you have 2 starships out there. So what can you do? Turns are really quick in this game. You can simply just take one action, and then it goes to the next person. One action you can do is you can recruit 2 troops on planets that you own. So let's say, for example, I own this planet. I could recruit a troop here and a troop here if I wanted 2 troops. That's one action. Another action is I can spend 2 movement points. Now, movement point, one of them is simply flicking your ship like that, across the board. If you flick it so it goes off the board, your ship dies and goes back to your supply area over here. But if I flick it to a new planet, I can look at that planet. Ooh, it's a gray planet. And then later on, I can use a move to basically land on that planet, and I can convert my ship and put my ship in my starship and convert it to a guy. In this game, basically, I like to think of these guys as the spaceships from Robotech, where they were, basically robots and spaceships, because that's what's happening here. Your spaceship turns into a guy defending a planet, and you can also take a guy off a planet and launch it as another spaceship. You're limited to the number of starships and troops that you have, but that's how it works. Now, once you have people on a planet, there's a couple things you can do. You can mine a planet. If you have 2 guys on a planet, like this, you can take them off and get 1 point. If you have 3 guys on a planet, you can take them off the board and get 2 points. So if you're kind of stuck with nothing else to do, it's certainly a way to get points, and people better be careful because you can get a lot of points that way. You can also take a guy off a planet and build a colony there. And later on, you can take a guy and a colony off to build a city there. You could also take 2 guys off to build a research lab there. You can only have 1 of each of these types on a planet, although you are allowed to have 2 research types on 1 planet on the board. For another action, you can increase one of your techs. However, to increase a tech, you need this, like for example, if I want to go to gray level 1 here, I need to have at least 1 gray planet with a research station on it. I do. So for one action, I can increase this one up by 1. That gives me 3 movements. And since later on I have 2 here, I can increase it by 2. But I can't go to 3 until I find another gray planet somewhere on the board. Let's see if I find another. Oh, here's another one. And build a research on that one. Then I can go up to 3, which gives me 4 movement points. And so you can see these special abilities here. Each one does different things that are different. The orange one lets you attack. That's how you get a battleship. The gray one gives you more movement. The purple one helps with defense. And the brown one helps you recruit more troops. So there's different kinds of research abilities that you can get depending on which planets you find. Now, if when you're flicking your starship, it hits someone else's starship, then both ships explode and are gone. So you don't really want to do that. What you'd rather do is get close enough to a starship, and you have this little token here, and if you're within short range with 2 spaceships, then you blow up another spaceship. So these two, if these two are flicked here, that would blow that up. Not only does it blow it up, but it gives you a victory point. You want to get victory points in this game. Destroying a spaceship's one way. Being the first one to get to any level of technology gets you that many points. So if I'm the first one to get to orange level technology 1, I'll get 1 point. If I get the 2 first before anyone else, I get 2 points. And if I get all my tokens up, I get an extra troop and a ship. So that's basically how the game works. You're going to be going out and getting different victory points in different ways by conquering new planets. You can capture other people's planets. If someone else has the planet, you can blockade it by having your spaceship in orbit around the planet, so they can't build more troops or launch ships. They're going to have to come in and take you out any way that they can. You can increase your ship so that they have long range. You use the long side of this. And the game is going to be over when the victory point pile runs out, and there's a certain amount of chips depending on how many people are in the game. And then you get points for each occupied planet. You get points for the researches that you might have done, but most of the points you already have. And you get points for colonies and for techs and stuff. And so after that, whoever has the most points is the winner. It's a game that involves both flicking and strategy, especially in terms of utilizing this technology to the best degree. Alright, well, I like it. It's a fun game. Maybe it was the hype machine. I didn't think it was like the second coming of gaming. It's interesting, it's entertaining, and I would play it if you ask me. I don't think that I would be the one to push for a game because it's interesting, but I mean, it all comes down to flicking, and I'm not a very good flicker, and that's okay. And I love the technology trees and stuff in this. I think it's going to feel samey after a while. And there's not a sense of excitement in it. Capturing someone else's ships, and there's also cheesy things that can be done. When you put out a new ship and where you put it, and I've seen players shoot kind of cheesy shots, but all that is said, the technology tree is neat, everything is very smooth, it plays very quickly, you're always involved, you don't sit there going, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do next. There's always something to do, you feel like you never have enough stuff, you're always trying to figure out how you can get more troops and more ships. You can be crazy with your shots. You can do all kinds of sorts of things in the game, shooting-wise, and there is that aspect to it. So I did enjoy Ascending Empires. The space theme is there, and I would actually put this on more of the lines of a family game, though, other than a strategy game. It's good. It's fairly unique-ish. There certainly isn't any other flicking space game that I know of. And I can see a lot of people enjoying it. So that's Ascending Empires. Not the best game of the year, or even in the top 10, really, but it's a very good one, and it will meet a lot of families' requirements, and a lot of people will like the space theme.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.